What's happening, you guys? My name is Steve. I'm 42 years old. I'm 6'4", and 6 months ago I weighed 313 pounds. Today I weigh 243 pounds, and in this video I want to discuss exactly what I did, what protocol I followed to lose 70 pounds in 6 months. Let me start off by telling you what I didn't do. I did not do tons of exercise. Now, in my 20s and 30s, I was very physical. I did lots of exercise. I used to run constantly. I probably ran 50 miles a week, maybe, when I was in my 20s. Slowed down a little bit. Used to lift weights quite a lot. And in spite of that, in my 20s and 30s, my weight kept going up and up and up. Not by much, but just a little bit. Until probably by the time I was 38, 39, I weighed somewhere in the range of 260, 270. And that kind of became normal for me. Even though I was working out and even though I had a very physical job, this was the case. And in late 2015, I got sick. I have uncontrolled asthma, and that asthma just knocked me out. It had been getting worse for a few years, and it just finally knocked me out in late 2015. And I was out of work for all of 2016 on disability, could not exercise, and in that year I gained an additional 30 pounds because I just could not breathe. So, I did not exercise much to lose this weight. I did not spend money. I did not buy pills, shakes, supplements. I did not hire a personal trainer. I did not do crazy food restrictions to lose this weight. In other words, I didn't go on any special diet. I ate pretty much the foods that I like, pizza, including pizza, drinking beer, ice cream, popcorn, no restrictions whatsoever, really, on the things that I ate. I ate whatever my family ate. So whatever my oldest daughters or my wife fixed for dinner, that's what I ate. Not picky. I'm still not picky. I don't consider myself to be a health nut. And I do not have perfect willpower or discipline. I did not lose this weight because my willpower or discipline is some superhuman level. In fact, just to give you perspective, I'm talking about a 6-month period. There was one whole month where I totally screwed up. I ate whatever I wanted. I was off the wagon for basically an entire month of this 6 months, and I still had great results. I still lost 70 pounds. So if I'd had great willpower, this is why I'm a normal guy. I want to get this across. I'm just a normal dude, middle-aged dude with a dad bod to prove it. If I'd had great willpower and discipline, I would have never got fat in the first place. Okay, if I really knew what was happening, I would have never got fat in the first place. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. So those are the things I didn't do. I didn't go to any extremes, really, to lose this weight. What I did was I used fasting protocols. Alternate day fasting is the primary protocol that I used. Before I started alternate day fasting, I was hungry all the time. In fact, I'm going to put a picture up here so you can see my first video, okay? So up here on this side of your screen, you'll see a picture of me. This is just a screenshot of what I looked like in my first video, my personal introduction to alternate day fasting, link in the description. And you can just see that there's quite a difference between then and now. But before I started alternate day fasting, I was hungry all the time. My stomach was constantly growling, even if I had just eaten an hour ago or 2 hours ago. I had cravings. I would come home from work and I just craved sweets, okay? And there was no limit. I craved carbs. There was no point like where I would get to a point of satiety, where I felt sated, okay? I could just eat the whole pizza. I could eat the whole box of Frosted Flakes, and it just didn't have that much of an impact. And I crave those things. I crave sugary cereals. I craved, pizza, ice cream, anything sweet, Swedish fish. That was one of my favorite candies. And I just crave these things all the time. And if I didn't get them, I'd get the shakes. I'd get like weak and fatigue and just feel like I needed to eat. I had high cholesterol. I had high blood pressure. My blood pressure for the past 3 years had been creeping up to crazy levels, to basically borderline hypertension. I had edema, I had water retention in my legs and elsewhere. Like I could actually push on my skin and leave an imprint. And I couldn't breathe, as I said. Part of that was asthma, and part of that was just tons of belly fat around my middle. And not being able to bend over and tie my shoes without holding my breath, or, not being able to exercise, not being, just feeling so heavy. I mean, carrying 70 pounds, that's like, you imagine that in a backpack or something. That's how hard that is on the knees, on the joints. In fact, I sprained my ankles twice in the past couple years. And so my starting weight was 313 pounds. I had extreme fatigue. I was tired all the time. I had brain fog. The foods that I was eating, the sweets, the sugar, the carbs, were making me very tired. So I would eat and I'd be tired for like an hour afterwards. I'd fall asleep on the couch all the time and just felt really exhausted. And because I was fat, because of all the other health problems, I was depressed. And as an emotional eater, that led me to more consumption. So it was like I was just stuck in this cycle. And I'll throw up some other pictures here as I'm talking. But so I started alternate day fasting in early March of this year, 6 months ago. Within 2 months, my LDL cholesterol was down. My HDL cholesterol, the quote unquote good cholesterol, was up. My triglycerides were normal. My blood pressure had stabilized. The metabolic profile that they do in the blood workup, your liver function, your blood glucose, all that sort of stuff was perfectly normal. I had no fluid retention anymore. My asthma was better. I was breathing better. I could exercise again. In fact, there's a picture up here where I'll show you my chosen exercise now, which is rucking. So I strap on a heavy backpack. It may not look like it, but the backpack weighs usually 50 or 60 pounds, depending on the day, depending on how I feel. And I just go for a walk for a few miles. And sometimes I'll even do a little light jogging while carrying that backpack. I have good, steady energy. It's consistent. And I have great mental focus. So all of my symptoms that I had before are pretty much gone. Okay, so what specifically did I do? I got into alternate day fasting. Alternate day fasting is where you eat one day, you eat the food you're going to eat, you eat normally, and then the next day you restrict your calories. When I started out, I was restricting my calories to 500 calories a day, and that was almost always in this form of a salad that I ate at about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And now what I do typically is 0-calorie days. So I will simply eat one day and then not eat the next day. That's what alternate day fasting is. It's a day on, day off, up day, down day. So fasting and feasting. And through this cycle, your body does not go into starvation mode because you're eating every other day. You're taking, calories in every other day. There's no starvation mode until you're actually starving, until all the adipose tissue, the fat tissue, the Big Macs and cheeseburgers and years of pizza and ice cream, till all that's gone, I'm not starving, okay? So, my energy level stays high. I don't feel tired. I don't have cravings anymore. I'm not at the whim of my food. I can say no to foods that used to be a real problem for me. But, I feel set free, basically. I'm lighter, not just in body, but also in emotions, in, spirit, in just about every way, in terms of what I can think and my emotion, my feelings, like how often I get depressed and feel sad and stuff like that. All of this has been improved. It's like when the weight came off, so did a lot of other entanglements. And so I've been able to increase my exercise. I've been able to start living life again in kind of like that movie, The Shawshank Redemption. He says, get busy living or get busy dying. For a long time, I was kind of in death mode, and I was just thinking about all the limitations I had and depressed about them. And now I'm in life mode. Now I'm like pushing myself and challenging myself, and that's what I've done. So in the course of this channel, I started out small with my fasting protocol, And then I kept stretching things. I kept stretching how much I was able to do. And, and I've realized a lot about myself. I've realized what my problem was. My problem was not willpower. My problem was not discipline. And it wasn't that I wasn't exercising enough or anything like that. My problem was that I was eating too much, too often, and the wrong kinds of food. And that's the quintessential way you can say it for the American diet. Too much, too often, and the wrong food. Food that is toxic to the body. So, I started with almost no restrictions, as I said. I ate the foods that I liked on my feasting days, and on my fasting days, I restricted calories. And that's basically how I've done this. It's a very simple thing. It doesn't cost money. Continued practice, I found out that fasting and teaching our body is just like, building up our muscles. It's just the same exact thing. You think you can't do it, but you can. With practice, you can. And actually, the culmination of the past 6 months, I did a 10-day extended fast. I'll put a link to the playlist in the description so you can check that out if you want to. But I did a 10-day extended fast, 0 calories, and it was great. I had some struggles with it, but I learned from it. I keep moving. So continued practice. I've learned more about my body. I know now what my real problem is. My problem is not that I just am a fat butt. It's not just that I am a loser, but there are hormonal things that were going on in my body that needed to be addressed, and I've started to address them. When I started fasting before I really did a lot of research. I just sort of jumped into it. I watched a few videos on YouTube and jumped into it, and then I did the research. So I read the work of Dr. James Johnson, Dr. Krista Verity, Jason Fung, Brad Pillon, Michael Mosley, who advocates the 5-2 diet, and here on YouTube, Doctors Eric Berg and Darren Schmidt, and learned a lot from them about the value of intermittent fasting and the benefits and the pitfalls and all that. I did my research afterwards, and I just decided to make a channel that was a testimonial, okay, that would just kind of give first of all, record the thing for me so that I can look back on it and say, well, what was I doing? Or what was that like? I wanted to record the process, but I also wanted to give people an opportunity to see a normal person. I don't have a six-pack. I'm not going to be on the cover of Men's Health. That dream is gone. Okay, that's back in my 20s somewhere. I'm just a normal guy. I don't have roid rage. I don't look like that guy from Napoleon Dynamite that was wearing the American pants. I'm just a normal dude. And so I just wanted to show people what is possible with an intermittent fasting protocol. Real simple. And so here's what I've learned in the past 6 months. I do not have to eat all the time. Food does not jerk me around. I don't have to be jerked around by food or drink. Okay? I do not eat all the time. And probably the way that we're supposed to live, if you think about history, human history, we are not supposed to eat all the time. Our whole history has been marked by periods of fasting and feasting and fasting. And so those intermittent periods, I am just following the way that people have lived for thousands of years. This whole idea that we have to eat all the time is a fairly new idea. It's an idea that's new to modern Western civilization. And it doesn't even exist everywhere in the world. It's just kind of unique to us. And that's why Americans and Brits and Germans and Australians and people that are part of Western civilization, they're struggling with obesity because they're eating all the time. The key to weight loss, second thing I've learned, is to eat less often. It's not to eat less. That's important to understand. It's not to eat less. It's to eat less often. So I'm eating less often. I'm only eating every other day. And there's lots of other people who don't do that, who don't go to that level, but who maybe just eat within a time window, okay? So they only eat for 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And that's something you can do. One of the great things about fasting is it's flexible. It's totally flexible. And one of the questions that I had to ask myself early on, because people always say, that just sounds so hard, that just seems so difficult. Here's what's difficult. It's difficult being fat. It's difficult being sick. It's difficult not being able to play with your kids or do things or work or do the things that you want to do to live your life. Being fat and sick is what affects your quality of life. Okay? If you have, so you choose your challenge. That is a challenge. To be fat is a challenge, and it's a miserable thing. Okay? It's like being in jail and you're just encased in your own body. No one who's fat appreciates it or loves it. No one says, "Oh, I lost weight and I felt worse." It just doesn't happen. So you choose, you can either choose for things to stay the way that they are, or you can choose change. And that's what I decided to do. I chose change. So I'm eating less often. I learned about fake hunger. That's another thing I learned. That fasting taught me that even if I fast for 8 days, the hunger pangs that I feel are no different than the ones that I felt on day one. They pass, they're manageable, they don't constitute true hunger. As I said, when I was at my fattest, I was hungry all the time, and this is a common complaint of people. This is a common thing that happens in an occurrence. People who are fat are hungry all the time. And so they think the solution is to eat, but that's not the solution. The solution is to let go of that food. Take some time off from it. Because the stuff that you're feeling is hormonal. The feeling of discomfort of a hunger pang is hormonal. It's your body's habit, your body's routine. This is all habit. We learn, the foods that we think we have to have, the sugary, starchy stuff that we think we have to have. It's habit. It's something that we formed. And it can be broken. It can be changed. So hunger, my body is under subjection. I am not going to be a slave to my own body. It's going to serve me. I'm not going to serve it. I will serve it in the sense that I will try to put good foods in it and take care of it, but I won't be its slave. So that's part of the reason I'm not going to be on the cover of Men's Health. I am not willing to exercise 2 hours a day in the gym to try to beef up and why? I just want to be healthy. I just don't want to be fat. And I think that's where most people are. So, I ignore fake hunger now. I know that I can deal with it. It's manageable. I don't have to eat all the time. When I was eating too much and too often and the wrong foods, I had certain triggers. This is something fasting's taught me. I've learned it when I watch TV, I have cravings. I've learned that when I am bored, I'm more subject to cravings. Or if I'm tired and didn't get enough sleep, or if I'm stressed out or worried about something. And, this is something that fasting's taught me. This is something I learned about myself in the past 6 months that I didn't really know before. Another thing I've learned is that the fatigue, for years and years, there was a joke in my family that the men in my family, if they were hungry, became dangerous because we always got irritable and wanted to punch a hole in the wall or someone's head. And here's what I know now. It's not that there's not something going on, some mysterious hereditary affliction that makes us have to eat. We're just sugar addicted. The men in my family are just addicted to sugar. So the weakness, the tremors, the fatigue, the shakes that I used to get because I hadn't eaten in 4 or 5 hours was sugar addiction. I learned that about myself. Fasting taught me that. Another thing I've learned is that when you fast, your appetite is suppressed. Think of it. It's counterintuitive, I know, but your appetite is suppressed. You stop having cravings and you stop being jerked around by that appetite. Your body learns in time with practice. Insulin resistance. Okay, another thing I've learned is I knew nothing about insulin resistance when I started this fasting business. I now know that is my primary problem. It's from years and years of abusing my body with sugar, with simple carbs, just putting in white bread, pasta, pizza, all these sorts of foods, which I'm not saying they're bad or that you can't ever have them, but for me, where I made that my primary diet, they made me sick. I got fatter and fatter. Following the government protocols for low fat and getting the right number of carbs and all this business, I gained more and more and more weight, and I was hungry all the time. But I now know that many of the things that I feel, and if you look at my shape and all the belly fat that I have insulin resistance. And I'll link to a video of Dr. Berg's that talks about insulin resistance. If you don't know what that is, you can get enlightened. It's really not a complicated issue. It's just a matter of eating too much sugar. And that's what I was doing for years and years. And that's what I'm trying to correct now with fasting, because fasting is the cure to insulin resistance. And I expect, talking about that belly fat, that spare tire that I still have, that extra 30 pounds perhaps that I still am carrying around, I don't expect that to go as easily as the last 70 did. But I do have a plan. I'm eating ketogenic now, so I'm eating a high-fat diet in an attempt to deal with that insulin resistance and get it back to where it needs to be, in a normal range. But all of this that I've learned, my higher quality of life, and everything that I've learned about myself along the way has come about as a result of alternate day fasting. If you liked anything in this video, this is what I wanted to share with you today. If you liked anything in this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to follow the journey of this last 30 pounds and the things that I keep learning as I adjust and as I move and as I approach this thing with a learning attitude and grow in knowledge, subscribe to the channel. It's real simple. And if you know of anybody who's struggling the way I was, who's not real hot on exercise or doesn't have time, but who needs to do something for their health, who needs an intervention of some kind and would be encouraged by a testimonial here, because that's all I do is give you my story. I don't say that you should do this or make a lot of comments on particular diets or things like that. I really think that this is something where there needs to be tweakage, because we're all individuals, but all of us as individuals need encouragement. So if you know of someone who'd be encouraged by this, share this video with them, share the channel with them. I appreciate it, you guys. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we fast. See you next time.